Hi, welcome. This is the Onfire show. I'm here with the Councilman Bethea. How you doing, Mr. Bethea?
I'm doing just fine, Daryl.
All right.
How are you?
All right. I am glad you're on. You're the first candidate who's running for mayor. You're running for mayor of the city of Trenton. You're the first one on my show. And, I'd like to thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me, Daryl.
And tell the audience who are going to be watching or watching now about your show, about being city councilman, your history of your activism, because that's important, because people need to know you're former NAACP president, and you're a two-term councilman, right?
Yes, sir.
You're a two-term councilman. Tell us about it,
Well,
being who you are.
Well, let me thank you, Daryl, for having me.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you a little bit of my history first, and then I can bring it up to more or less current and to the present, and then tell you what my plans are for the future. First of all, I'd like to say to the audience that I'm a Christian, and I was born in Dillon, South Carolina, and my parents had 10 children. I'm the 10th of 10.
Wow.
And my parents were migrant workers. And migrant workers mean that you go from field to field gleaning to try to just to eat, not to make ends meet, but just to eat. My parents was uneducated, and fortunately, by the grace of God, we were able to move to New Jersey, Patterson, New Jersey, to be exact. And I graduated from high school in Patterson, New Jersey, Patterson Eastside High School, the old high school that they made a movie out of. I graduated from that high school. I was in the 10th grade when I came to New Jersey. And I graduated from high school, and fortunately enough, I was able to get into Essex County College in Newark. I think they only had been open for 3 years, and so I got into Essex County College, and I earned an associate degree, and from there, I was able to go to the College of New Jersey, Trenton State College at the time, and after that, earning a bachelor's degree in health and physical education, I got a job in Trenton School Systems, Trenton School District, as a health and physical education teacher.
What year was that?
That was 1975.
Wow, so you came in with the rest of the bunch. Yeah, it was a lot of y'all came around that time, 75.
Yeah, it was, 75, 72. So that was a year where they was Dr. Al Page, who was a human resource personnel director, it was called at that time, who was recruiting African Americans to try to come to Trenton for work, and I just happened to be fortunate enough to get a job in Trenton at that time. And over that time, that's been 40-some years ago, I spent my whole career in the Trenton school system on various levels in various schools and various jobs. I was a coach, I was a school teacher, I was a teacher disciplinarian, and I retired just a couple of years ago as the vice principal. So that's, in a nutshell, a little bit about my past. But before I retired, I had an interest in going into politics. So I ran for city council, and the first couple of times I lost. And eventually I won. So for the last 8 years, I have been on council. And I think, that qualifies me to be the next mayor of Trenton. So I am interested, and I am a candidate for the mayorship in Trenton, New Jersey. You understand that the current mayor is not running.
Oh, he's not running yet.
He's not running, so I have a good chance of winning this race.
Oh yeah, definitely a great chance. I remember you through the campaign. I think it was with Nate Walker. He was councilman, and I used to come around you, Nate Jones, Big Nate, my buddy.
Yeah.
And and you were NAACP. What year was that NAACP president? You was NAACP president.
NAACP president. I was NAACP president 4 years prior to me getting on city council.
Yes.
So
Okay.
that last year I kind of resigned to be able to focus more on the council.
On the council.
Yeah. So 8 years ago, that was 2010, 2006 through 2010, I was city council president.
Yeah. Okay.
And before that, I was the first vice president under two presidents, Maria Jones and Zachary Chester, who's now council president.
Yeah.
I was first vice president under both of them.
Oh, okay.
And the NAACP Trenton branch. So
Yeah.
I do have a lot of experience in the civics as well as the community, because I was a West Ward committee man for West 21 for a while. So,
Yeah, so
I've been involved in the
Oh
community.
yeah, so you're involved in education. You've been involved in I get the activism with the NAACP, and even before you at NAACP, you were activists. You know, you were doing a lot of different things, and you were a principal.
Yes.
So you retired when?
I retired actually technically in 2006.
2006. Okay.
Yeah, technically 2016. That's
16.
yeah. This is 2018, 2016.
Okay.
2016. Yeah.
So you know, there's going to be asking a lot of questions like, you know, why decide to run for mayor? What was it that made you decide, Alex Bethea, you know, in your head, you know, why am I going to run for mayor? What is the reason? What was the main reasons why you wanted to run for mayor?
Right. Well, you know, even in my 8-year tenure on the council, I served under 3 mayors, to be exact. And with the experience that I bring to the table, as well as the experience that I've garnished and I've gained by being on council, and what I've seen and being in the boardroom and a part of the leadership and the decision making, I thought it would be fitting that I put my name in the hat, because I was more qualified than many of the candidates that are running for this and that have, you know, put their name in the hat to be the mayor. So I said, why not me? Because I have much more experience than many of the candidates that have ran for this position, and I want to be the game changers to help turn Trenton around. And I have a 5-point plan that I can assure the Trentonians that I would like to share with you.
You know, definitely want to hear that 5-point plan, and you know, because you know, you talked to me, you know, because if you know, happening in the city of Trenton right now, we have an educational problem.
Yes.
We have a violence, or even in the school systems, we have kids that are not graduating from high school. We have kids who are graduating from 4th, 5th grade reading level, and there are some exception kids that are doing very well.
Yes, sir.
And then you have the situation with the daylight twilight school, which is, you know, I think they say it was one of probably the worst school in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And then we have the problem with the water problem.
Yes.
And that was a big thing, the water problem. And then you had Ernest Perry, he's the police director, and the statement that he made where young kids, or he's talking about African Americans, was hood rats.
Yes.
You know, and so all these things are happening, you know, bad education, bad water, Ernest Perry making a statement calling African American hood rats. And then you have, we still have a somewhat of a gang problem in the street, violence. You know, so the city is the city of politics and violence, and school districts, people are fighting. We're in a big turmoil.
Yes, sir.
And so the idea is, okay, tell the audience about your 5-point plan, because I think that people really need something new and different.
Right. Thanks, Daryl, because you've touched on a lot of good stuff, and I want to share my 5-point plan. And I think my 5-point plan covers all of the areas in which you just mentioned. And I'll tell you what they are, and then I'd like to come back and I'll give you a breakdown of what each one of them how I can
Oh,
implement
we got a good hour. So
yeah, okay, great. Well, the first one is public safety.
Public safety.
Which deals with the police department, and I'll give you a breakdown on that. And the next one is education. I consider myself the educational candidate. There's no other candidate in this race know more about urban education than Alex Bethea. I'm the educational candidate. And then number 3 is urban housing and economic development. We can fix our problem, particularly our housing problem in Trenton, through our economic development plan. And I'd like to share that with you. And next is stabilization of property taxes. We can do that. We can connect that with housing and economic development. We can connect those two, and I can show you how we can stabilize our property taxes. I cannot guarantee the residents that their property taxes will go down, but I can guarantee that they will be stabilized by getting some of those houses back on the tax roll. And last but not least, I can use that same concept, that same housing and economic development project to provide employment for Trenton residents. And I emphasize that because Trenton residents, we have a higher unemployment rate than the national average. And we have a higher unemployment rate than the state average, and even Mercer County average. So we need to concentrate on getting our young people, our males and our females, middle-aged people, engaged into the workforce. And that too, and I will love to share with you how all of those plans work together. Now, I go back to number 1, and we'll talk about my public safety plan, which includes the police department. And under my administration, we would deploy our policemen a little different than what we currently do. I would have the police officers on foot, particularly in those known festive crime areas, high crime areas. We would have policemen on foot, walking the beat. But at the same time, while they're walking the beat, I would encourage them to engage our residents in meaningful dialogue, communication, to try to develop a rapport where the residents will feel comfortable with the police officers, and there's a trust that can be established between the police officers and the resident. And right now, currently, many times the police officers ride around in the cars, and sometimes they have tinted glass, and there's a disconnect between the residents and the police officers.
Yes.
And there's a lack of trust on both sides, which create a problem, and it also festers crime because there's no trust, and if you have that camaraderie, if you will, people would feel comfortable telling police officers, even if something is getting ready to go down around the corner, they would be comfortable telling the police officers, particularly if they're on feet and they can have an opportunity to engage that conversation. Hey, maybe you need to walk around the corner. There's something getting ready to go down. Yeah. And that in itself could go a long way in terms of combating crime. Now, going to my second point plan is education, which I'm an expert in urban education. I want to emphasize that because I spent 40 years in urban education on every level, K through 12, and in various capacities. So I'm an expert. Now, I do realize that education is a great equalizer. If we get that right, then that in itself will cut back on crime, reduce crime. But we have to do a better job at the earlier grades. And my plan would include kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. We would put more emphasis on first, second, and third grade to try to get our students on reading level by third grade, because we understand that if the kid is not on reading level by third grade, there is a great opportunity that he will have some problems with behavior or with crime or with the law. So that's where the emphasis with my plan would be, because right now the educational system, the urban education system in Trenton is kind of broken. But it's only broken because no one stepped up to the plate to try to fix that, and I will be that candidate to get that fixed, because I understand, and not to cut you off, I have evidence that I have proven evidence that my plan worked, because if we start in kindergarten, just to make the point, if we start concentrating on our kindergartners, and when they come into our system, we do a thorough assessment of what their needs are, what their dominant learning styles are, because we understand that, in the education system that kids learn differently. Some kids are visual learners, some are auditory, and some are kinesthetic. And if we can do that. We have the tools to find out what those needs are for each kid, and we will design the curriculum to meet the needs of the child, instead of just grouping them in there and putting the teachers in. We can do an assessment with the teachers to make sure we align the teacher with the needs of the kids, because there is a difference. And if we do a good job at making sure we got that assessment in place, and we understand the kids' learning needs, we can gear the curriculum towards that. But at the same time, within the assessment, we would also try to engage the parent, but the assessment would also include doing assessment to see if the kid has lead in his system. And if we find a high level of lead in the child's system, we would also try to find out the source from which the lead is coming, whether that's at home or at school. And if it's either or, then we need to fix that, because when the kid has a higher level of lead, then it affects his learning. So,
one of the things dealing with education, of getting our kids pushed to the 21st century education jobs. It's to the point, when we see our young kids either, they're graduating or they're not graduating, but they're getting these menial jobs where they're working at Walmart, they're working at Target or Amazon, when we know there's still thousands and thousands of jobs where they can make 70, 80, 90, 100,000, dollars a year.
Right.
And, there's these mathematics, science, engineering jobs that, which, other people from other countries are coming over here and getting these jobs because their kids are very qualified. Their kids, their kids are studying engineering, mathematics, and science. Which I know that Trenton has a STEM cell program, a STEM program, and for me, I would like to see a STEM program even in the kindergarten, elementary. Because these kids need to be prepared at that age.
Yes, sir.
That I want to be an engineer. I'm going to be a science. And these have a choice. Right. Because I just don't like seeing kids. When they go, and they finish high school, Trenton High School, they go into Mercer County College, and I met with these one kids. They said, well, my major is liberal arts, or I'm taking a psych major. I was a business major. Well, it was too hard. Yeah. That's what they tell me. These classes are too hard, and it's because of the high school, and it's sad.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
But piggybacking off your point, and you make a great point, and I subscribe to your point that you made. The STEM program has to start in kindergarten.
Yeah.
And we can do that. And we can do that. It's not rocket scientists. We can start very early, engaging our kids. As I indicated, if we know what their learning needs are, we gear the curriculum towards their needs. You would be amazed at how quickly they absorb and are able to grasp and retain this information, because it filters right into what they they have an interest for in the first place. Now I'm telling you that because I have my own kids, and we started them out very early in these programs, and we annotated them with books and other kind of scientific things that was.
Now you have Well, you have kids. You have 9 kids, 9 kids, 7 boys, 2 girls.
7 boys. 2
wow,
girls.
how was that? I mean, how was that growing? Raising 9 kids.
Well, that's a good question. Excellent question. It was easy. It was easy for me.
Yeah.
Very easy for me, and it was easy for me because you understand I'm the 10th of 10. So I am used to hand-me-downs and sharing the biscuit, if you will, if necessary, and being able to share and develop relationships and rapport. So my understanding of parenting were in place. Even though my parents were uneducated, they were Christians, and they believed in doing what was right. So I learned that from my parents. So my wife is the middle child of 3 girls, and when we had our first child, she was excited about having children. It was a gift from God, as my parents taught me, and she brought into that concept. A lot of people look at it as me that I was pushing her to having the kids, but she embraced the blessing that was bestowed upon us.
Yes.
And she was gifted with that gift, and she was able to nurse them and care for them and nurture them, and she enjoyed it. She loved it. So the more the merrier. And it is a true saying that it's cheaper by the dozen. We bought in bulk. I was a one-income family man, and we were able to have a good life on a teacher's salary. We didn't go extravagant. We did the thrift store when we wanted to buy things, and we get some good things in the thrift store.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
So we were able to do this, and my wife would teach them at home, teach them to read, to write, to do math. And Daryl, I don't know if you knew this, but five out of my 7 sons are Ivy League graduates.
Wow.
Went to the Ivy League.
5 out of 7.
Trenton High School graduates, Ivy League. And this was by design, not by mistake. You have 5 Ivy League graduates from Trenton Central High School, and it's not in the newspaper.
Yeah,
it's not in the newspaper.
Definitely.
I'm not bragging.
But that's 5 out of 7. 5 out of 7.
5 out of 7.
I mean,
unheard of.
Anyway, and that's awesome. I mean, that's part of it when you say look at the family strength. Yeah. You know, husband and wife, one income in a family. You're a school teacher, then a principal. You're a Christian man.
Yes,
I mean, and so that's important.
Yeah, very.
I mean, that's very important. You know, to be a Christian man and a strong. You were a strong father, strong husband, and 9 children. You know, like I can just imagine 9. You know, going to the bathroom, trying to figure out waking up in the early morning. Yeah. You know, and you know, and the fact that none of your kids have ever been involved in the criminal justice system. No, they all went to church.
Yes,
I mean, that it's amazing.
Yes, sir.
It's amazing. It it's just amazing.
Yeah. And well, I like to add, it's amazing.
Are you a grandfather yet?
Yes, I am.
You're a papa.
3 times. I'm 3 times.
Okay.
But I want to add this here because I think this is important now that we are interviewing. My wife is a Trenton Central High School graduate.
That's important.
Yes, very important. She's a Trenton Central High School graduate, went through the Trenton School District, went to the Ivy League, and my son followed after their mom at her alma mater, and to the University of Pennsylvania. But Daryl, I want to say this before I forget it. that 40 years after my wife graduated from high school, Trenton High School, one of my sons brought home a state championship wrestling award that had never happened in the history of Trenton High.
Wow.
83-year history, and we've never had a state champion wrestler. And 40 years after my wife graduated from high school, her son, our son, brought home the medal. And he also graduated from Trenton High School that same year and went on to the University of Pennsylvania. And 4 years later, he graduated from the university.
Wow, and that's the testament of your strength as a family man and as a Christian. I mean, you have 9 kids. 5 out of 7 boys went to Ivy League schools.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's a testament of how committed you are to your family.
Absolutely.
And you're committed to the city.
Yes, sir.
That's important to have someone who has a history, who will be the next mayor, but who has a commitment to the city, commitment to the family life, the structure of family, commitment to the church. You're a Christian man, and when I see your wife, you have a beautiful wife. She's a strong woman, and a strong woman to just take your 9 kids.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the Alabama, Georgia, Florida.
She's a
Trenton woman, but she got some. I know she got some South, and you got South in you too.
Yes,
you
sir.
grew up in the Southern boy, country boy.
Yeah.
So those who are watching, we have Mr. Alex Bethea online. This is the Onfire Show. This is your host Daryl Brooks. If anybody want to ask any questions, you can. I see we have having people just log on and saying if you need to ask any questions. But I want to go on. You're going to have there's Freedom Green running for mayor. There is Paul Perez who's running for mayor. I think this is Walker Worthy. There's Reed Gassior, and there's some other individuals. I'm not sure. I can't think of the other individuals' names though, but who are going to running for mayor. The question is, as you talk, what makes you different from all the other ones?
Okay, that's a good point.
What makes Alex Bethea and the way when you have been talking, the stuff that you said, your kids and going to school and commitment to family, commitment to the city of Trenton for over 40 years,
yes, sir.
40 years.
40 years.
That right there alone,
yes, sir.
makes you. It's basically
right. Yes, sir. Well, let me just add this. And you said what makes me different. I've been on the council for 8 years. I don't think any of the other candidates that I know of have served on city council.
On city council, 8 years on
city council.
There's time. Remember when you and both of y'all were running, you and Kathy McBride.
Yeah.
I got on at the same time, and that was amazing.
Yeah, it was. And what makes me different is, as I indicated, and you indicated, spent 40 years in the school system, and when most people like myself left town, moved out, and put their kids into private and parochial school, I stayed in the trenches because I wanted to make Trenton better. And I used my kids to try to make that happen as well. Sent them to Trenton High School. They were very athletically inclined. We pulled home 19 Mercer County championships in wrestling. Wow. And my 3 youngest sons won it for 4 years in a row. And the 2 oldest boys, they won it 2 years in a row. So I've been engaged in civic activities for the last 30 years.
Yeah,
trying
definitely.
To make Trenton a better place in which to live.
Yes.
Now, mind you, I was the first candidate that to announce my bid for the mayor back in October of 2017. I was the first. Now I'm finding, which is not a problem, and everybody has the right to run. I'm finding because the current mayor has decided that he's not running for whatever reason, God bless him. I see that the field is getting flooded. I don't particularly understand that piece, because you're either going to commit to something or you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
I made the commitment in October. Whether the current mayor runs or not, I think I'm the best candidate for the job, and I have a proven track record. I've pushed back against, even the police director, as you mentioned earlier, and I've stood up against things that I thought was unfair and that wasn't right. So I have the courage and the intestinal fortitude to make the hard decision, and I'm not afraid to do so. And I think that if I had to wait to find out what the other person was going to do to make my decision, I wouldn't want that person to be my mayor.
Yeah, and so and that's so important because yes, you are the first to come out, and you've been committed to the city for over 30. You've been here for 40 years. Over 40 years.
Yes, sir.
And I've known you for I guess 20 some years, and you've always supported all of my projects. And I remember. When I had brought Dr. Bernard Lafayette here, he was Martin Luther King's aide, talked about nonviolence, and we had a comment. I remember Dr. Lafayette talked about education, and the violence. How do we stop the violence in our school districts, in the school system? Because it's you read about it in the paper, and you hear some of the stories that go on with the parents, with the students. It's sad, and it is because your generation is different from my generation. My generation is somewhat different than the younger generation, the ones that have kids now. And I have a grandson, Malik. He's he'll be in the second grade next year. So, I definitely have to myself have to be concerned about making sure he gets the best education. That's important that our young kids get the best education. Our young kids feel safe in school. Dealing with we can't have the violence and what's on television. It's terrible. And on the YouTube, on the Facebook, these kids are getting inundated with so much violence. Right.
Let me just touch on that, Daryl. As we indicated, I have 7 sons and 5 Ivy League graduates out of that 7. But let me back that up and talk about. How do we avoid the violence? And you alluded to it earlier that none of my sons have had any run-in with the law. Now, how can you assure that not happening? And I have the formula for it. And as I told you, education is the great equalizer, and it is the key, but. And I tell you about kindergarten and getting our kids engaged and learning, getting them in their learning dominance style and gearing the curriculum towards their needs. But at the same time, Daryl, we must get our youngsters early engaged into activities. I got my boys into wrestling. That was our thing when they were first, second, and third grade. We got into wrestling and we went all over, got into tournaments, and that was the reason that we were able to win so many championships, because I started them early, I recognized it, and so 2 things, actually 3 things was happening at one time. One, academic. We had a high standards of academics, and we wanted them to be engaged in activities. So even with my 5-point plan, and I talk about education and concentrating on first, second, and third grade, but at the same time, we need to get our young people engaged in activities, whether it's soccer or chess or debate clubs or music or arts. We have to have that broad spectrum to expose our children to them and get them interested, because what will happen is the child will find his niche early, by first, second, and third grade. If we catch them and get them on read level and get their motivation and inspiration up and make them feel good about themselves and catch them before they get to the games. Because if they don't feel good about themselves and feel like they're a failure by 3rd or 4th grade, and someone say, okay, come here, I can give you a few dollars and join up with me and let's go beat up so-and-so, those problems fester and they multiply. We have to catch them first and offer them, make them feel good about themselves through education and other activities that they become talented at. I can't tell you how many wrestling state champs we could have had before my son. We only had one. We could have had that if the opportunity was made available.
Yeah.
And when I become the mayor, that floodgate will be opened up. Not just in wrestling, but in other areas, whether it's music, ballet, dance. We're going to open that gate up and let our students explore their talents.
Yeah.
We may have some Olympians up here.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. First of all, I'd like to say thanks for watching and keep on watching. And I have Councilman Alex Bethea here. He's running for the mayor of Trenton, New Jersey. And so, I'm going to say that, even me growing up in the 80s and 70s and 80s and elementary, junior high school, we had great athletes, and a lot of young kids at the time, they didn't have the strong parenting, or they didn't have that push that they needed. That someone to put a hand, grab a hold of them and say, listen, I'll watch your back.
That's right.
I'm there for you.
Right.
I'm gonna help you get to that next level.
Right. And
a lot of our kids, because we have Greg Grant, who went to the NBA, and we could have we could have had so many other players going to the NBA and who were very athletic, and then we had we had great individuals that could have been great scientists, engineering, mathematics, genius, politics, activism. And you guys are my hero, activism. When I was coming up, it's just you, Nate Walker, Nate Jones. I miss Nate Jones. Nate. And when Nate always taught me, especially when he would always run for West Ward Councilman, and he would always tell me, Daryl, I got to keep on running, and also got to keep educating yourself. Right. And that's the thing, which I always talk about sometimes, is that we have our community leaders, all they think about is having a good time.
Right.
Having a party.
Yes, sir.
And all the thing of the political establishment, when they want to do is give out turkeys on Thanksgiving time, give out little gifts, and hey, you'll be all right. We'll take care of you. We'll provide all the things that you need. Here's a turkey on Thanksgiving to about a couple hundred people. Here's some fried chicken dinners. Here's some gifts we give you at Christmas time, and then during election time we'll give some ice cream to the kids and give some soda. Yeah. And by the way, and other ones will have these nice jobs and who are in City Hall, and and we have like I said, we have the water problem. That's what I want to touch on too. The water problem. It's a big problem.
It's a big problem.
It's like in the movie. What's the movie with I can't think Eddie Murphy in? He was in prison, and him and Martin Lawrence. I can't think of the name of that movie, but they had this one guy called Can't Get Right. It's like they can't get the water right.
Yeah.
Tell me, what do you think in about the water problem? And what could be done? What was the mistakes? I mean, because I'm hearing all these conspiracy theories about the water problem, that someone, they wanted to have a disruption in the water. They wanted the system to be bad so they can sell it. What is your aspect on the water?
Okay. Good question. Before I get into the water piece, I do want to say this. I would be remiss not to say this, but you mentioned this person's name, and I too want to mention his name. Greg Grant. Played NBA.
All right.
I coached junior high school basketball at junior high school number 2, and Greg Grant played for Coach Alex Bethea.
Oh wow! 3
years, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. So, and there were others. There were.
I got Gene Bew. He's the president of the school board, right?
Gene Boyd.
Boyd. All right. Yeah, Gene Boyd. He's watching right now.
Oh, is he?
Hey, Gene.
Great. Okay, so I wanted.
John Ledbetter is too watching. John Ledbetter, a bunch of people watching.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Maybe we'll get some more people watching.
Yeah.
But just want to let you know. I just want to give a shout out to Greg Grant, because he's a great kid, and he comes back and he gives back, and he has after school program, and he's constantly giving, and he has that Alex Bethea spirit to give everything you have, just like I did. I've given everything I have, put it on the line, made sacrifice with my kids. Now, the question about the water. There's a lot of theories out there, and I requested from from council to have DPA come in and do a thorough assessment of what's going on and give us a report, give it back to council so that we can have a better handle on what is going on over there. Now, as a sidebar, if you will, I've talked to a few of the employees that work at the plant, and they too allude to me that there is an inside, if you will, designed to bring the water system down. So we have to make sure that people who are working for the water system got to make sure that they have the residents' best interests at heart, and they're not going to do anything to try to jeopardize the safety of our community. And if they do, they're out of here. Now, I do know this also as a fact. We have to have more certified personnel in the water department in certain areas. We're short there. We have to make sure we bring that up to standard.
Why is that? I mean, is it because you can't find anyone that who are qualified that lives in the city of Trenton?
That's part of it, and the other part is the compensation. The pay is not of on the level where these people are willing to come from other places or to stay here in Trenton when they can get a higher paying job in another area. So there are so many of those certified people in certain areas, and there's a shortage. But I challenged the administration, even from years ago, let's go to our high school and do a workshop or seminar and let our high school students know that jobs are available, and we can provide the training for these people, for those youngsters to become qualified. And that piece we haven't done yet, and we will have to do a better job than what we've done in the past. And under my administration, we will open that floodgate up because we have the talent here in Trenton.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's here.
We have a lot of talented people in the city of Trenton.
Yes.
And in Trenton's, with the great name of the Trenton makes the world takes. Trenton still makes things our people the world takes. And it's so we definitely as politicians, activists, and people of the community have to cultivate that. And I talk about all the time. All these politicians and community leaders, we have to stop the partying. We have to, burn the midnight oil. What was that song, Burn the Midnight Oil?
Yeah, you
remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, old saying. But we have to do it. I mean, because we have to, because it's because when your generation was growing up and you get up all night and you stay and you study and you work hard and you study till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and these kids need to know that you're gonna struggle sometimes,
right?
But if you work hard, you can achieve anything you want to. Yes, and you're gonna have I mean, even your time when you had racism and they had walls.
Yes.
That you had to break through.
Yes, sir.
And your foreparents, because my family's from St. Mary's, Georgia.
Okay.
And that's right off 95, Jacksonville, Kings Bay, Georgia. Jekyll Island, Cumberland Island, all up in there. Before you get to Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah. And they would tell me the stories. They were shrimpers. Yeah. And they worked hard.
Yes, sir.
To get where they to buy land and they're Forrest Gumps. Yeah. But it was always something, they married educated, they married educated women, women that graduated from college, went to college, but they worked hard.
They did.
And you talk about, you have 9 kids, and that's a testimony of working hard and making sure all your kids go to college, and 5 kids go to Ivy League school. And then also is that whole Christian background.
Yes, sir.
That faith, faith that will allow that spiritual faith, the faith that's okay. There are times that are gonna be hard.
Yes, sir.
But we're gonna make it.
Yes, sir.
because you have God in life. I mean, that's important.
Yeah.
You
You got to have that spirituality, and I had it. But I want to say this before we go off, because a lot of people
What time is it?
I don't know.
You get your phone. Because you know what? My computer went off. What time you got?
People tell me all the time that I talk about my sons all the time, and I don't talk about my daughters.
Talk about your daughters.
I gotta say something.
Say something about your daughters,
because people would say, "Well, he didn't say anything about his daughters," and I do want to say something about my daughter. My oldest daughter is a school teacher down in Maryland.
Okay,
and she is the only one, if you will, that took after her dad. She's a health and physical education teacher down in Maryland. She's a head soccer coach. When she was here, she was all county soccer player.
You got about 15 minutes.
Yeah, and my youngest daughter moved to Puerto Rico.
Wow.
And she's now living in Puerto Rico. She got caught in the storm.
Oh, okay.
And she was home for a month or so, and she just went back a few days ago to
So what she's doing in Puerto Rico?
She is into cosmetology. So
Cosmetology,
she's going to cosmetology school. Her goal one day is to open up her own shop in
Puerto Rico.
Well, she may come back here at some point, but she said that she wanted to go to the university over there and learn the language. She's learning the language. She speaks Spanish fluently. And come back to New Jersey and teach bilingual classes.
Oh, okay.
In the Trenton school system, but that's a long-term plan. And she decided that on her own. It was against her daddy's will, but she's doing well, and I'm very proud of that.
Okay.
So
you got also a lawyer. He's running for councilman, Dwayne Williams. In Princeton, he's watching.
Okay. I know Dwayne.
Dwayne, hey Dwayne.
Yeah.
So,
good.
But one of the things is that we have about 15 minutes, and one of the things I want to talk about is that we talked about education. We haven't want to. I want to indulge in the issue of taxes.
Okay.
And because there are people who are talking about moving out of the city of Trenton because of taxes, but also taxes and jobs. That's important. But taxes, what can you do as the next mayor? The ease the tax burden on residents and also businesses.
Yes, sir. Hey, Daryl, we talked. I have a 5-point plan, and we talked about the first 2, which is public safety and education. We never got to the other 3, and they actually work together like hand in glove. And my housing and economic development plan, we can take an aggressive approach in getting those abandoned houses back on the tax roll by getting some of, and I talked about getting Trenton residents employment, providing employment opportunities for Trenton residents. And here's how we can do that. We have thousands of abandoned houses. We can create some apprenticeship programs and plumbing, electricity, and carpentry by bringing some of those wooded up houses back on the tax roll, going in, fixing up those houses from nuts to scratch, and we can fix those houses up, get those houses. It takes some time, might take 4 to 5 years. Get those houses back on the tax roll. That would stabilize the taxes. Now, within that plan, those renters that I consider long-term, that have been renting their properties for more than 5 years, will have first opportunity to purchase, become homeowners to those properties that has been revitalized, get them into those low-income housing projects. And I'm sure that you are aware sometimes renting is more costly than a mortgage.
Oh yeah.
So we can help these people get a low income loan, get them into home ownership, and if we could do that in 4 or 5 years, that will stabilize our tax base, provide employment for Trenton residents, because I want to emphasize that point. Trenton resident will go out and those persons who are unemployed, get them into an apprenticeship program, carpentry, plumbing, electricity, and other apprenticeship programs. And we can do that with one fell sweep. Now, I would like to share this with you because the taxes are so high. We have in our city, we have, including the state offices and the faith-based and the churches and the schools, more than 50% of our structure are tax exempt.
Wow.
We only have about 48% of us carrying the tax burden.
Wow.
That's too much.
Yeah.
And we have thousands of boarded up houses.
Yeah,
if we get those houses back on the tax roll, stabilize your property taxes.
Well, definitely when, one of the things is, especially in the North Ward, off of, when you look at off of off the Martin Luther King Boulevard, the side streets, and then you go over there by Brunswick Avenue, up in that area, all up in there, them side streets. Thousands, and it's sad. So that's a concern to a lot of people in the city, and you're right. When you have 50% of structures not paying taxes, something has to give.
Yes,
something has to give.
Right. So.
Yeah. And so, and the next is jobs, or bringing jobs and companies to the city of Trenton. I was going to tell you, one of the funniest thing, we were in Starbucks. Starbucks had, it was now in the city of Trenton. What is that, off of Warren Street?
Yeah.
And so it was me, Duncan Harris, and I can't think of his buddy, or I can't think of his name. But we were sitting in Starbucks, and they had to close because of the water problem. And and I'm sure the owners of the Starbucks are like, okay, what's happening here? Yeah. And so it's definitely embarrassing when when the Starbucks comes to a city and has to close because of the water problem. Yeah. And the idea of what would make Trenton look good again. And that's one things that people are concerned about, looking good. A city, a city where they can go shopping at. I remember back when I was a kid in the 70s, even to the early 80s, Trenton had a lot of shopping downtown. You can stay out all night. Right. Not all night, but there's a lot of things you can do and feel safe. Right. And they don't have that. We don't have that in our city anymore. And the idea is that, what will it take to bring businesses back to the city of Trenton? Right.
I'm going to go right to the point, and I will go right to the point. You got to have good leadership, man. Good leadership who has Trenton residents' best interests at heart. None of the political stuff and the favors and being caught up in somebody else's pocket. You have to have good leadership, and I understand the structure of good leadership from my own family and from my parents as well as my own family. The person in charge makes the difference. One man can make a difference. Oh yeah. And if you got the leadership, then that environment and that attitude permeates. People know when you care. Oh yeah. And that in itself will make a difference. And people who want to come into Trenton with their businesses, they too know if it's a business deal to make money or to help friends or to help the resident. Oh, yeah. And under my administration, it's going to be 100% about Trenton and Trenton residents. And
and definitely you have that the testimony of doing of being a strong citizen for the past 40 years in the city of Trenton. Yes, 9 kids, right. 7 boys, 2 girls, and a wife, and you've been involved with activism in your community. Yes, sir. NAACP president.
Yes, sir.
As you're two-term city councilman, and you're running for mayor.
Yes, sir.
And you have the history, and to me, you've shown that you care because you've been there. Well, you've been there. You've been in the trenches more than any other individual who's probably running for mayor.
Right. Well,
that's important.
Right. Daryl,
and to be educated.
Right. The average person that with my hand or would have been in my position would have left Trenton, would have moved out because like you said, I have a nice wife and my kids have done well. They've made me proud. And I didn't send them to private or public school. And most people in my predicament, and you can do the research yourself, would have sent their kids to another school. I did not do that. And I didn't do that for a reason. And it was by design. It was not by coincidence or where I had to. I did it because I wanted Trenton to be the best.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to be able to say that Trenton have a state champion, from Trenton Central High School, and as well as Ivy League graduates from Trenton Central High School.
And that's
they
important.
would have gone if they was at Princeton High School. It wouldn't have mattered what high school.
And that's important. And that's important that all your kids they went through Trenton High School. They graduated. They got on the degrees. And in your testimony it's one of the top. I mean, it's you show that you care. Yeah, it speaks for itself. Yeah. And this man, Alex Bethea, he is the city councilman. He is running for mayor, and I want you all to. What's your website?
AlexBethea4Mayor.com.
Alex for mayor. Alex Bethea for mayor.com.
AlexBetheaForMayor.com. That's my web page.
And they can find you on Facebook where?
On Facebook, Alex Bethea.
Is that the Trenton Pride or
Trenton Pride?
Trenton Pride. And so I check it out every day.
You do check it out.
Yeah, I check it out. So I'd like to thank you for coming on to the show, and we're here at Facebook Live. Trenton, and we're really it's about making some changes, and it's about doing the right thing for the people of the city of Trenton.
Yes, sir.
And I thank you, and I definitely invite you on again if you ever needed a message, and we're going to send this out to hopefully all the people of the city of Trenton could see this.
Yes, sir.
And people are definitely concerned about the violence, education, the job problem, the tax problem. The water problem, and you addressed a lot of those issues here on the show, and I thank you for coming on. You definitely have you been endorsed by anybody yet, or any groups?
Not yet. I just want to get endorsed by the residents. I don't need the big, the big organizations.
Well, I'm sure they're gonna come out and support
you. I'm a grassroots.
I understand that
because I don't want to be controlled and had and feel like I'm obligated and have to. Cut deals and do favors. So I want the residents to vote. I'll be hitting the ground, running boots on the street.
Boots on the street.
Yeah.
All right. I thank you for being on the show, my friend.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
this is Alex Bethea. He's running for city council. He's running for mayor. He's a city councilman at large. Alex Bethea. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to be sending this video out, so stay tuned. And I'll see you about 7 o'clock. I'm going to have Freedom on. Culture Freedom from PRT, and then at 8 o'clock, I'm going to have Mr. Lynn Washington, Professor Lynn Washington, from Temple University. He's also a writer for the Philadelphia Tribune. So get an hour break, and you'll see Culture Freedom from Poor Righteous Teachers. Thank you. God bless, and see you in an hour.